Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. My name is Julianne Peterson, and I am your host every Tuesday night for Zoom at 8. I am also a loan officer, senior director at Old Capital Lending. And as you know, every week we are here to introduce you to real live investors and people that are real business oriented specialists in their field in real estate. So tonight's going to be a wonderful evening learning from Dax Ferguson with Heritage Construction, and it's going to be eye-opening. We're going to do it as a conversation so that you can ask your questions, get a little knowledge of the industry and what he can do and help you on your projects. So if you have a deal right now that you're looking at, because there's a lot of deals out there across the nation, we would love to have the opportunity to be your lender of choice. And so we would look for a T12, a rent roll, your OM if there is one, and the underwriting. Okay. This would be after you've talked to a property manager like Kelly Stinson, who's in the house with Velo, and talk to the tax assessor's office to make sure that you're in line with any assessments that are coming upon sale. And then also with an insurance broker like JT Lynch, who's also in the house. So after you vet your deal in your underwriting, you have all that information aligned, all the assumptions. That's when you send it over to Julie, Old Capital, and we will underwrite it with a lender and give you some solutions. That's what we do. We find solutions. So we've been doing this for 5 years. Starting next week, 5 years we've been meeting. So if you've ever missed a week or a year, you can find us on my YouTube channel, Julie Ann Peterson, Julie A-N-N-E Peterson, and all, 300, 400 YouTube presentations are there. So we've covered lots and lots of information to help you grow your business. I know Dax Ferguson for probably 4 or 5 years. He is a founder and CEO of Heritage Construction for the past 13 years. Dax hasn't settled for work that looks good on the surface. He dives deeper, helping multifamily rental properties not only increase revenues and tenant retention, but decreases crime and improves quality of life in those communities. Favoring these long-term ethical solutions over short-term profits, Dax has established Heritage Construction as the trailblazer, an uncommon brand positioned for expansion. His unique perspective has garnered national attention, a thought leader in community-centric construction. Dax has taught his approach to property syndication investors across the nation. He's been married for 27 years to his wife, Brandy, and he has 9 boys. 9 boys.
No.
He's a father of 9. Did you hear that? 9 boys. Not a girl, no girls, just 9 boys. So without further ado, I want you all to welcome a survivor of 9 boys, Dax Ferguson with Heritage Construction. Welcome. How are you tonight, Dax?
Thank you. Thank you. You make me sound so good. I appreciate that wonderful welcome. I tell you, I don't know who wrote that, but it wasn't me.
Well, it always blows me away when I get to see you. You're always so friendly, and you always have some special things to share about life, about your work, about your family, and that's what I like to do business with people that are living a life that are contributing to others, making their lives better. So that's why I want you here. I want to introduce you. But man, oh man, 9 boys. So kind of walk us through how do you get through that?
Yeah. So wasn't the plan when we got married. We
Mm.
actually are 28 years married now instead of 27, but January we hit that 28th year. Oldest son is 26, youngest just turned 9. So wide range, about 17 years between them, and one at a time. Yeah,
Man.
didn't know twins. None of that. The thing that people ask, no, we're not Mormon. No, we're not Catholic. Yes, we have a TV. Yes, we know what causes it. So all the questions that come to mind, I'll just go ahead and get those out of the way. A strong woman really is the reason that we have so many kids. She's done so well as a mother and help us be successful. So why stop, I guess. So
So let's
sorry.
talk about heritage. First of all, are you originally from Texas?
Born and raised in Texas and lived here most of my life. Did a short stint in Orange County, but everywhere else I've lived in Texas, in
Okay.
the DFW area.
Okay. So you come to multifamily through construction. Did
Yeah.
you kind of walk us through so people understand your interest in multifamily, why you do multifamily, and how you can help us?
Started in single family, doing floods and fires and whatnot, and did pretty well with that. But looking at the business side of things, wanted to know how to scale my business. And so one of the things where I couldn't go to more job sites, but I could go do more at each job site. And the best way to make that happen was multifamily. So at the end of 2015, early 2016, made the switch over to multifamily, and really haven't looked back. People have tried to pull me back into single family here and there, and that was a mistake a couple of times. I've said, "Oh yeah, I can help you out. You're a friend," and you know how that works out. It's no, stick true to what you do and how you do it. Once we really stayed true to that, it's been great for us.
So when somebody's looking for a contractor, what what's the number that you start with? Will you start at 5 or do you need something larger? And kind of walk us through so that if somebody is looking for your services, what is your main type of construction
Of
that you
work.
want to provide?
So what I like to say is we do everything from due diligence all the way through CapEx execution. So don't forget about the due diligence piece, the physical due diligence. We walk every unit. We take 50 to 60 pictures in every unit. You'll have a real-time report that's created behind the scenes, so you'll know good functional need replacement of refrigerators, HVACs, everything in there, flooring. And then the things that need replacement, it helps create a price for you to create your CapEx budget. So once we finish in the due diligence side, step back. We do a 3D exterior of the buildings, and then we do a 3D interior of every floor model. That's important to know as well, so that you'll know if you're going to do a rehab project, how many square feet or linear feet of cabinets or whatever you need to know. You're able to measure those from the 3D models that we give you, and then we help from that point, we help create your CapEx budget. So you have your scope of work, and I'm just going to go easy here, but lighting, appliances, flooring, and paint, right? Let's say that's what you're going to do in the unit. And if a refrigerator is out in your due diligence, it won't double count that. It will give you a price once for the refrigerator instead of going, well, you need to replace it. And then also you're going to replace the refrigerator too. So our softwares merge with each other to help you get a real price to put everything together for sending it to your lender, so that when you go, okay, this is my due diligence budget, and here's where I'm going to spend it. Not here's a theoretical $1 million I'm going to spend. It's here's $1 million and here's where I'm spending it. And then you have a contingency line in there. And that makes you more credible as the person coming to borrow the money, that you're not just randomly trying to place a number there. You actually have a good business plan put together for you. So that's something that we help you walk through as well. And then after that, we like to start your CapEx project like really right at closing. So you sign the documents to close. You sign our contracts because you can't sign ours until you've closed on the property. And then once that's done, mobilization money transfers pretty fast. And then we had been talking through the whole time typically, and we're mobilizing within a couple of weeks of you closing on the property.
So
But
let's
what
go.
we're,
Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Keep going.
Okay,
I just
so
want I just want to step back on the due diligence because a lot of people try and put their own due diligence. I got an inspector, I got a roof guy, I got a plumber, and we're all trying to send on that property. You guys kind of walk through that experience and where will you do due diligence in the nation? Is it just in
okay.
Texas or other markets?
So we are nationwide in all our services. The couple of states that we choose not to work in because they're difficult to perform work in those states. One being California and one being New York. They're just hard to do work in. So I choose not to do work in those states. But we work in Des Moines, we've worked in Cleveland, we've worked in Florida. I mean, everything, Sunbelt's all over, Arizona. So those are kind of the main areas where people bring us to. But we do due diligence and we do construction in all those areas. Due diligence, our pricing, just so you know, is an all-inclusive pricing. It's whether it's in Texas or Georgia or Cleveland, it doesn't matter. Our pricing is our pricing for it, and it includes the travel. So we make more money in some areas. We lose money in certain areas, but it's a blend. It's a service that we're trying to keep it simple so that there's no confusion, and we just kind of go across the board and take care of it. And so we do that. Now, here's our limitations on due diligence. It really needs to be 50 to 70 units or more for it to make real sense for us. Now, we've done it where people go, I've got a 35 unit or a 40 unit over here. Can you do it? The answer is yes, but our pricing structure has to change a little bit to accommodate for the travel. So that's typically it. But if you tell me I have a 10 unit in Indianapolis, will you come do that? I probably won't. It just doesn't make good business sense for us to do that. But I'm a phone call away. You can call me and I'll help you kind of guide through some things that you probably should look at. And people send me pictures. Hey, what do you think of this? Or FaceTime me while they're there. I don't know what I'm looking at. Can you help me? And I'm open to help anybody because this business, in my opinion, it's a big family. We're all here to help each other be successful in this business because of your success makes my success, makes Julie's success. It makes everybody more successful. We all know that we're not in this. You guys aren't in this to do one deal. You're in this to do multiple deals. And your next deal more than likely is going to be bigger than the deal you're doing today.
Sure.
So we're hands-on. We're here to help people do that. And then as far as construction, I'll just finish up with that piece. It does need to be a sizable project. We have up to 500 guys in the field at any given time. So our guys travel to the property. They live on the property while we're working there, take 1 to 2 units, and then they work 6 days a week. I give them Sundays rest. Occasionally, we're behind on a timeline and we use Sundays to get caught up. But they live on property until we're done.
Wow, that is fantastic. So going back to due diligence, because here's the thing, again, a lot of people who don't know that there are people like you that do the due diligence. Do you look at all of the systems then, or are they going to need to bring in a plumber, the electrician, the roofer? So make sure that we understand that.
Yeah, perfect. So we bring in the plumber. We don't bring in an electrician, but our guys are pretty well versed on what to look for. We tell you if it's copper or aluminum. We tell you if it's a stab lock panel. We look at those key elements that everybody's looking for, right? HVAC, we look at those. We look at the kind of the age of them, but also what coolant they're using. Give an idea on that. And then we look at the water heaters, and our system tells you the age of the water heaters. So, you have 100 units, and you have some that are 5 years old, some that are 7 years old, and some that are 15 years old. It gives you the age of each unit's water heater, but also gives you a blended rate on the property. So the average age of the property is 7, let's say. And the reason for that is so that you can budget accordingly. They may not be broken today, but if you need to budget accordingly, if they're more the 7 to 10 range, you probably need to budget a little bit higher for replacement of water heaters moving down the road, because they just typically don't last much longer than that. So those are kinds of things that we give, and I can talk and get geeky on this whole thing, but it's really just, it's so much data, so many details. Um, I'm personally a picture guy, so that's why I wanted to create this software to take 50 to 60 pictures in each unit. Some people are picture people, some people are spreadsheet people, and you can look at it either way. And if you just say, hey, give me a list of the refrigerators in every unit, you can look at every picture in a screenshot on the whole property, or whatever, pick whatever item you want to look
Amazing.
at. Or you can look at the spreadsheet and say are they good or bad. So however you guys want to look at that, the flexibility is there for y'all.
Well, the data is what is so important. And when you're making decisions, I mean, what we're seeing, and Dax, you can kind of help us understand what you're seeing, especially like in Denise's case. She was buying an older building, but there was a lot of stuff that came in from the inspection that said, this is what you're going to fix, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I think that this is what we're going to start to see a lot more of, because a lot of syndicators got really excited about just changing the interiors, but didn't do the exteriors. They were just moving rents up. So I would like to hear from you, Dax. What are you seeing in the marketplace when you're doing these due diligence? What are some of the things that people should be keeping an eye out for that's really a red light right now for making some, decisions on that property, and what we should be asking for in a reduction of price?
Sure. So I'll tell you, today's market is much different than it was a year or 2 years ago, right? We're seeing
Mm-hmm.
some unique things come up. I was walking a property last Friday that had just closed within the last week, here in Irving. And I've known the previous two owners of this
Mm-hmm.
exact same property. So I've done due diligence on this property. I know it well. And when they did the inspection, the lender requirements that came in during this time was a drainage pipe. I never knew this drainage pipe was back in the back of this property, and where it's steered the water and how the drainage was happening. But they demanded that they fix this whole drainage system on the back. It had never been a problem before, still wasn't any more of a problem, but they didn't like how in this townhouse this drainage pipe went under the backyard of one of the townhome units and where it drained out. And so that had to be fixed. So
So what
again,
you're
known the last
saying,
two owners.
yeah, what you're saying is the lenders are looking at things that they weren't really nitpicking about before. That's
Yeah,
what you're
it's just
saying. Yeah.
it's a new time. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really trying to get more detailed, even in our software. Thankfully, we wrote it so we can make some tweaks and improvements to it, of just getting some more detail of different types of things that we may talk to the owner about. Hey, you got a drainage issue here. Look at that, do that. But really writing it into the software to improve it. Lighting is always a big thing. Safety of the property is always a really big thing for us as a company. So we're very big on, light it up like a prison yard is what I tell everybody. I'm probably
Mm-hmm.
not the best statement, but, really
Mm-hmm.
make sure it's lit up well so that everybody's protected. So when the kids are playing, that there's no dark corners or anything like that. So those are things that we put in there. And plumbing, we do roof inspections, we do HVAC, we do all of that stuff. It's kind of in our whole report. And then we do drone flyover with a 6K camera so that you can see close up and far away of what your roof's conditions are.
Okay, so let's just kind of wrap up the due diligence. So what you're saying is you're going to make some suggestions in your report of what needs to be fixed, what needs to be added in crime and safety and things like that, which is super helpful. Because if this is your first or second property, you might not be thinking of this. So here, Dax and his staff, they see this on a daily basis and can make these great suggestions for you that will ultimately save you money. You know, when you've got some concerns about crime and the lender says, what are you doing to mitigate that? You know, Dax has put that suggestion in that due diligence. So that's super helpful. Now, my question to you is it by units that you charge? Is it a flat rate? How do you manage that?
We charge $50 a unit and $50 a building and a $500 setup. The only thing that doesn't include is the scoping of the sewer lines because it's dependent on how many sewer lines are there and how many you want to scope. We recommend at least a third. So that's kind of our bare minimum. Some people do 100%, some people do 50%. We kind of work with you on that, but a bare minimum of 30%.
Great. I mean, the due diligence is so important to have your team set up. You know, here you're meeting Dex, here you're getting to know him, the scope of what he provides. You know, maybe get on a call to understand more about what him and his staff can put together for you. Now, let's go to construction. So when we're looking at a construction bid, what are the things that we want to be looking at? Because a lot of people will be getting 2 and 3 bids. So
Yep.
from your personal professional opinion, what do we need to be looking at from a side-by-side comparison? Because, you know, some people will say, hey, it's only 20,000 to do, you know, per unit, but they're throwing in a whole bunch of other things that maybe you don't need. So kind
Right.
of walk us through, how do you do a side-by-side comparison and what are you seeing in trends right now for renovations? Do we have to have the LVP? Do we have to have the new faucets? Do we have to have the new lights? Things are changing. We're not
Yeah.
getting the rents that we were getting. So kind of walk us through that as well.
So I'd like to walk you through a couple things, but I'm going to start with your question specifically, what we're seeing. Um, if your highest maintenance, I'm glad Kelly's here because she can probably shed some light on this too. I have my opinion, but some of your greatest maintenance needs are plumbing and appliances are kind of your two, HVAC as well, right? So you utilize those three. Those are probably your main maintenance nightmares, if you will. So if you're addressing those first, um, replacing appliances, you're fixing or replacing faucets, or at least your shutoff valves underneath, and you're addressing all your shutoff valves
Yeah.
and your HVAC needs. You have a pretty solid foundation of what has to happen to lower your expenses. Would that be correct, Kelly? Is that a good assessment there?
100%. So, from a property management perspective, when we take over properties that prior ownership and management has not addressed the maintenance, they've just put a band aid on the plumbing, or we have a lot of deferred maintenance. I can tell you that the work orders is just going to expand on HVAC, plumbing, and appliances. That makes for really unhappy residents, and that makes for unplanned purchases, right? That's going to increase your expenses. So having that control ahead of time, as Dax shared, be very advantageous.
So should we be putting new appliances in before they break? Is that really what we need to be doing?
I believe so. I'm very, very much in favor of that, of
Okay.
just going in. So if you go into a property and you say, okay, I'm going to go in and replace all the appliances, and the appliance packages are, pretty good in the cost today. They're not astronomical like they were during COVID or any of that issue. Let's go ahead and do the whole property, because the elimination of the maintenance nightmare that you're going to have is really going to be a cost savings in the end of the day. And so I hugely encourage that. The other thing, I'm big on. I know Kelly comes from water conservation side, and so she's as adamant about it as I am. Doing water conservation, doing your toilets and low low airflow. Goodness gracious, aerators.
Faucets.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Faucets, aerators and shower heads is a big cost savings. And people come to me and go, well, I'm not going to do that because I can't, because we do rubs or whatever the reason is. And I'm like, well, okay, but you're saving them on their water bill, which allows them to have additional cash to be able to raise the rents as well. So you'll be able to capitalize on that money in some way or another by lowering one bill and being able to raise the rents by doing that. So don't think that just doing that and you do rubs isn't going to save you money. It really is going to make you more money in the end. So you do that. Changing to LED lights is another big thing we like to do, and go from there. But anyway, maintenance issues are kind of the number one tackle that I always take care of. Uh, lighting is big, inside and out, and blinds are another. Not expensive, but they look so good from the inside and out, and it really gives you this nice vision of the inside. If people come to me and go, I want to put granite in, I'm going to talk to them about their business plan, right? So people go, well, I want granite or don't want granite. And I'm like, okay, well, today, Julie, you may or may not agree with me, but people are going to have to hold properties a little bit longer than they have in the past, right? So instead of your 3 to 5 year turn, it's going to be more like 5 to 8 years before they're able to flip these properties, and that needs to be written into the business plan. And in that case, if you resurface a countertop, you typically have to resurface that every time it turns. If you put granite in that unit, you don't have to resurface it every time, and it will last you through the ownership period that you have the property. So if you make the investment up front, it will make your turns cheaper moving forward. So it's an upfront investment that we can talk about, and you're like, well, it's none of the comps have it, and I don't want to do it if none of the comps have it, because I won't get my money. You'll get your money in cost savings, but also you're more attractive to the renters to come in. And so it's kind of a twofold advantage by doing that. But it just depends on what your business plan is. So not every property needs it or should get it. But that's one thing that you'll do.
I do want to just kind of recap that, because I think it's really important, as Andrew Cushman said last week on our interview, is how long are you going to be holding this? And if you're thinking that it's going to be 8 years or 10 years that you're going to be holding onto these assets, you really need to be looking long term of what's the best product to be putting in those properties, because they're going to fail and you're going to be spending more money over that time period. So having the business plan up front and understood is really helpful. And that's who you should be sharing that information with your construction management company. So it's very, very helpful. Now, what about the boxes? Are we changing the cabinet fronts? Are we changing the whole thing? What do we need to be looking at in today's market?
I'm going to tell you a very shocking statistic. I've been doing this a long time, and I have only once, one property, have I ever changed boxes and or faces on those.
Wow. So that's a
That's
big
pretty
savings.
shocking. I always paint and put knobs on,
Okay.
and the reason for that is it may look a little prettier, but is it going to hinder somebody from renting that? If it looks good, it's painted well and it has good handles or knobs on it. Now, if it's damaged, that's a different story, right? We're not talking about like just trashed out or burned or any of that. We have to put new boxes in. But I'm talking about just your general rehab. Only once have we ever put faces on, and that was because the owner syndicator, they demanded it, and so it's like, okay, we're going to do it. I just don't think that generates the revenue that some people believe it does. I think by doing some other things, spending that money elsewhere, really can give you some different options there and make it a little bit better.
Okay, so let's unpack where somebody wants to put the majority of their capital. Okay, so we've talked about, the appliance package. We've talked about, the things that are really going to be a wow factor. But what about the exterior? We've got the parking lot. We've got the lines, the painting. Where do we need to spend the money today to get the wow factor? Is it exterior? Is it interior? Okay. Is it a blend?
So the exterior brings them to the property, the interior keeps them. So if you look at it that way, so when we start a project, we paint it, and I like painting brick, I like painting siding, I like painting the whole thing. I think painting shows that people care, right? So if you paint the property and then you like the property, that's going to bring people in. Roofs, they're not sexy. Nobody likes to really spend money on roofs. You're not going to be able to raise your rents. It has to be a leak-proof or a leak-free roof, but it doesn't have to be the prettiest roof in the world. It has to be a functional roof, right? So if you're not getting leaks or you're not getting anything, we do what we call a walk-in seal, and it's a very small fee in the grand scheme of things. And we walk every roof, every penetration gets resealed. We make sure that there's no missing shingles, but that's it. I try not to replace the roof unless it just is beyond repair. And you'll know that through your due diligence phase for sure. But painting, lighting, and then we're going to go to parking lot. Parking lot, generally that's going to be done by lender requirement anyway. So you at least need to do a resurface and repaint on your stripes. Pretty nominal fee for that. Fix some potholes and just do some general repairs there. That's always good, but that is always done last on our projects because all the trucks coming in and out delivering materials and doing things, we want to make sure it's as fresh as possible when we're done, right? So we do that. But the other thing that really, really is a wow factor is creating amenities on the property or helping any space that can create community in your apartment community, right? So, it's outdoor pergolas and gathering areas, grills, dog parks, depending on the area. Some are a good area to put it in, some are not. I'll just say it this way. Michael Vick's playground is in some of those dog parks, and we try not to create those environments for those. So we really try to keep those in certain areas that, it's not going to be a bunch of aggressive dogs on the property and things like that, because then it becomes a liability. So, but pergolas, outdoor grills, playgrounds are always good. Anything that's going to bring kids out to play, and then having a seating area around that for the parents to be in community together and get to know one another.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, one question, then we're going to go on flat roofs. A lot of people are like, I don't want a flat roof. There is a membrane that you can use. Have any issues with that? What is your thought to lead investors to say it's not that big of a deal, or stay away? What are your thoughts?
I don't say stay away, but just know this: going into a flat roof property, there's always going to be leaks. There's going to be leaks all the time. They catch debris. Maintenance goes up there. If the HVAC units are on the roof, they're going to go up there. They're going to drop a screwdriver. You're going to have issues. It doesn't matter what type of system you put on there. There's better systems than others, but you're going to have a leak. So if you know that going into it and you prepare for that, then you can get through the pain of having a flat roof. But don't don't turn away from a property just because it has a flat roof, because there are some really great things you can do to make it a decent roof for your business plan. Again, it's all going to be based on your business plan. How long are you going to hold it? And I'll talk to you about what type of roof we'll put on it. If you tell me 3 years, we're going to do one thing. If you tell me 10 years, I'm going to talk about a different thing. And so making sure that business plan's together is going to determine what we're going to talk about and the expense of it for sure.
So really more consultative, which that's like how we run our business, coming up with the right solutions for that business plan. So, all right, let's talk, because I think it's really important. We know that Class C properties today are really risky. They have the high cap rates, and they're just people are wanting to go into Bs. So what I'd like to do is, if you could, let's talk about C class. What do you have to have on a C class? That's it's an older property. What are the things that our audience here is going to need to look for to make improvements to raise the rents? Like, this is a non-negotiable. We have to see this in a C product.
Wow.
You don't have to have stainless steel appliances.
Yeah, you don't have to have stainless. You go black. I've totally gone away from white. White shows dirt too fast, and C class tends to be dirtier. I'll just say that. So if you go with that, so you're gonna interior wise, we're gonna paint. We're gonna do vinyl plank flooring. We're gonna do black appliances. We're gonna do LED lighting. We're gonna do blinds. I like to do door hardware, like all your door handles and whatnot, and make sure they all match, because typically they don't. And
does
then,
it have to be gold, or can it be the brushed nickel?
Can brush nickel, whatever theme you want to go with for the property. And like even lighting is, you're seeing some go to a gold fixture and things like that, which is fine. It just in C. Yep, you're seeing that, because really you can you're now seeing the prices of the brushed nickel and the gold be actually comparable. So it's just what you like and as a preference to get a little design flair there.
And with that, remember, if you're staying in this for 8 years, that gold is going to come off in 8 years. So there's the conversation, you're going to have. So, okay, keep going.
And cabinet pulls. Cabinet pulls, painting the cabinets and doing cabinet pulls are big. Water conservation, I always like to do. And then you do all new towel bars and toilet paper holder and all that in the bathroom. It gives it a nice pop in there. If I didn't say blinds. And really, that's kind of your basic package. I will say I'm probably 50-50 on changing the faucets. Some people want to do it and some people don't. And it just depends on what state it's in today, because a lot of times people, their attention to detail or their attempt at rehab was to change out all the faucets through the property. And so they have a nice gooseneck on there or whatnot, which is fine. You can totally keep it. But I'm about 50-50 if I'm replacing faucets or not right now.
So if someone were to say, I want this package, I'm buying a C class, Dax, I want you to replace it. What is that going to cost? Obviously, we know it depends on the size and there's a lot of dependence, but if somebody's going to put a placeholder for a renovation budget, are we talking about on a C class, this information that you just shared with us, is that 10,000 a door? Is that 15? Is it 20? It's not 5. So I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. Our average is about 14 right now on that. And we average our square footage at 1,000 square feet.
Okay. All right.
So, and just so how we get to that number, just so everybody's aware, we know that your one bedrooms are probably 600 to 750 square feet, and your twos and threes are 1,300 square feet. We just blend it and that's how we're getting to 1,000, just so
Awesome.
everybody's aware.
Okay, perfect. Now, Class B, what do we need to do
Yeah.
differently to make it go, this is worth, I'm going to pay more for this Class B? What is standing out for you? We talked about amenities, but for somebody looking at the unit itself, what do we need to change there?
I'm switching to stainless and a higher end light fixture.
Okay. Anything
Flooring
else?
typically stays the same.
Okay.
Cabinet pulls may change to a different style, but typically not. They're staying pretty right in line with each other. I mean, they're not much
Okay.
different. And that's about it. I mean, you're still doing the flooring, you're still doing the painting, doing, our paint
Towel
is,
bars.
wall, yeah, towel bars and all that's the same. So it's no big deal there. Our paint, just so you know, when we bid, walls are one color, trim is another color, and then ceilings are always white. So, so you're getting that anyway. So if I change the wall color from a gray to a blue or whatever, whatever's wanted, it doesn't matter. Not a big deal.
What about fans? What about smart technology? Where does that come in?
So I see if there's a fan, we replace it with the fan in all of our light packages, and that number still stayed true from a C class. So understand that. Technology is a big one, right? So, and that works in C class, B class, and A class. So let me explain this a little bit. So we have a tech package that we've promoted for a long time, and it has your access control, your keyless entry. It has security component to it, and it has HVAC control component to it. So with that, from your phone, you can unlock your door, you can lock your door. From a keypad, you can unlock and lock your door. And notifications to your phone can be given. So if you have a latchkey kid that's coming home and they undo the door and or the alarm, it actually notifies the parents that was done, and the parents can lock it right behind them. They can also set the alarm for their child and unset the alarm for their child. It's a communication there for that environment. The other thing,
and we'll probably talk. We'll get somebody in fintech will come in and talk to us. We've had before. So you're doing that though in Class C, I would think.
all the way across. I'm
Yes.
doing it in every aspect, because
Yeah.
in every class of property, it has its own unique feature that helps the tenant, right? So, A class, they're doing it because they want to let their friends come in, or they want to access their cameras, maybe because it may have cameras. It's just everyone has a deal in that tech, and I'll leave that there. But you'll have a platform on the back end that they can manage the property. So if you have vacants, even on the C class, it notifies the manager if somebody broke into that, and that's just a safety feature. So, but we're doing that in all classes.
Okay, going to class. All right. So on the B, are we still at 14,000? Is it going to be a little bit more for that package?
It's going to be a little bit more, and I'm gonna say it's going to jump closer to 16. But it depends on how many fans and how many, like, does it have pendant lights over the bars? Because that's going to be a higher end light fixture, and so there's going to be more of them. And then going to the stainless appliance is going to cost $250, $300.
Okay,
more.
perfect. All right, Class A, everybody, this is great stuff. What do we need to update, and what does that look like difference?
Yeah, so you're going to quartz on the countertops, and Class A may have had. So if we're doing a first generation rehab on a Class A, it may be 2000 to 2010, right when it was built, and so now we're going to rehab it. We're going to put quartz in. We're going to put a new undermount sink. We're going to put a nice fixture. We're probably going to the gold fixtures. We're going to do a higher end doorknobs and cabinet pulls to upgrade it. We're going to do probably some higher end painting to the cabinets and different things like that to make it stand out and be better. Probably going to do some accent walls in there to make some different areas pop in different rooms, maybe master bedroom and maybe the living room. May even do some sort of feature, and I know it's kind of fading out, but a shiplap wall or some decorative texture on a wall to make it stand out. You're seeing a little bit of that as well. Obviously, stainless appliances and under cabinet lighting, you're starting to see more come into play there, and so you're adding some of those features.
Okay, so what does that cost? Are we looking at for a Class A renovation?
So I would call this more of a custom, right? Because it's going to be, they're going to pick it out for that, but it's going to be probably north of 19,000 per unit. Just depending on, because they might change the floor, they may change the tile surround in there and things like that. So it really is going to depend on how much you want to do.
So my question to you is, in the last 2-3 years when we had Bridge, we saw 100% renovation of the units.
Yeah.
That's not happening anymore. What are you seeing?
No, and I'll even say this, and this is not against anybody here, but really that was the dream, right? To do 100%, and that's
True.
what people budgeted, but
Correct.
nobody ever achieved it. Nobody ever achieved it, and so
Yeah.
I felt like I battled that a lot because I'm going, that's a cute idea, but reality is you're only going to do 70% of this property, right? You're only going to get 70%, and so I still stick by that. And it all depends on your business hold, right? So where we'd come in some nasty properties and they were 50% occupied, and we come in and with all the team and we just knock through this property, right? Because we turn, and one thing I didn't say is we turn on average per property 30 units a month. So if you have 100 vacants, we're doing 31st month, 32nd month, 30 the third month, and the fourth month there's only 10 left, but you've had some more vacancies come on board, and so we're doing those, and we keep going to get you to stabilization. And so that is a big key in our business plan and how we operate, and that is going to be very good information to have when you're choosing your contractor, because a lot of contractors can only handle 10, maybe 15 units a month that they can turn. And or property management in-house, they only can handle so much. And so the loss of rents because you have all these vacants and you're not able to get them occupied or renovated to get them occupied is a big problem. And then you have absorption rates, right? So, well, I have 100 units, but I only can lease up 10 a month or 20 a month. So there's a nice blend that you need to look at in your business plan on how you're going to roll. And if you have a strong property management company that can lease up 30 units a month as they come on board, you're golden. But if you have a weaker property management company that's not able to do that, that's going to kick you in the rear end, and you're not going to be able to hit your performer as well. So different things to look at on that.
Great point. Okay. Man, oh man, this could go on for hours. You're just dropping so many nuggets, Dax. I love it. So, Paula wants to know, how did the lender know that there was an issue with the drainage pipe?
Which drainage? Oh, they did an inspection of their own on there, and they came out, and I think they came out on a day it was raining.
There you go.
And they saw the water flow, and they're like, "What is this coming from?" And so they went and they looked and saw the issue. But it wasn't raining when I was there, even this last time. And I was like, "Man, I've never noticed this before." And they're like, "Yeah, it's kind of a crazy deal that they found it."
Yeah. Okay. 5 things that you can help eliminate crime. So we talked about lighting. What other 5 things? So lighting is one. You got security is another. Security person. What else?
Yeah. Gates are perceived security. I don't think they actually give that much security. Perceived security is half the battle, though. So some people feel secure in that, and if you do that, that brings the tenant in. And if you make it secure by doing some of the other things. So I'm just going to say that because people say gates, gates, gates. And I'm like, I think it's more of a perceived security there. A tech package, right? Having that handy is always good. But weird thing, creating that community in the community has other people watching out for you as well. So if you have a community that comes together that doesn't just walk out of the car, walk to the door, shut the door behind them, and they never talk to each other, never care, they don't really watch out for that person necessarily. But if you're a community and you're friends, you're hanging out outside, you're watching, well, when people are outside, the others aren't doing mischief and creating crime. So that's a very good thing. So that cuts down on crime.
Lights, cameras,
yeah.
And
Lights,
even
cameras are
having
good
a
too.
police officer live on premise. So
yeah, police officers live on premises. Premises is another good one too.
Yeah. Okay. Are you the licensed general contractor in all those states, or do you operate as a construction manager?
So we are we have licenses in most of the states that we work in. So if we don't, we work with a contractor that has it, and that we use their license for it. So we will have a license to be able to pull permits in all states. Now, most of the work we do is not licensed work, right? Except for HVAC and electrical and some plumbing. And most of the plumbing we're doing is light plumbing, unless it's a major plumbing project. So those tend to hold their own licenses and pull their own permits anyway. But for most of the work we do, it's non-licensed work.
Okay. Can the paint stick to the plates and the dishes that you find on the interiors of those cabinets?
So that's a really good question, and I've got to answer it this way. If you paint it correctly, the paint will not stick. If you don't paint it correctly, the paint will peel off, and you don't prep it correctly and you don't prime it correctly, the paint will peel off and it will stick to dishes, even if you use the right paint. So it's a combination of using the right paint and prepping it correctly will create the cohesive layer that doesn't peel off and stick to your dishes.
That's a great question. Are you still using Agreeable Gray from Sherwin-Williams? Is that your favorite?
Yeah, it's what's used everywhere.
Are you seeing the trend change away from gray?
More to white, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And white is it shows everything, but people like the look of white. So
white exterior with black trim as well. That seems to be a crazy one. Yeah.
Yep, I showed you a picture of my house. That's what we just did.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that is all of the questions. What is the color again? Oh, what is it? Agreeable gray is what?
Agreeable gray. Yeah.
All right, let's open it up. Let's take a quick question. Paula, did we answer your question, or do you still have another one?
Yes, ma'am. You did for most of it. I just want to know, I mean, those prices seem high for rehab, but I mean, it's been a while since I've been in that business. So is it cheaper in the Midwest where the rents are lower? I mean, I see overall just your basic rents lower in the Midwest as compared to Irving and Dallas.
Yeah, so our prices are nationwide prices, so it's what we use everywhere. One thing I will say, and I don't really hide this, we're not the cheapest guy on the block, but we will get you to your pro forma faster, which will put more money in your pocket, letting us come in and take care of it. So, and the reason for it is we have large crews. We can handle the amount of work. We just knock it out. So our prices are generally the same nationwide.
Awesome. And you will do construction. I know we talked about the due diligence 50 and above. What does your construction look like on where do you start with that?
Depends on what it is. If you're saying, hey, I need some I'm going to use roofs. If you need roof work anywhere, I can come help out. That's easy stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a large interior exterior project, um, I like to say, I used to say $1 million. That's changed for me today, just because of the market, and we're getting a little slower, and so I'm trying to help other people out. I would say about 350 to 500,000. If the work is somewhere in that area, I'm interested.
Awesome. So if someone wanted to reach out to you, how would they do that? What's the best way?
My cell phone is always a good way to reach me.
So what is
I
that
put it
number?
in there earlier. It's 469-261-1190. And my email is dax@heritageccs.com.
So it is really important to build this relationship early. So even if you don't have a building right now that you need a renovation or due diligence on, you should get to know Dax, connect with him. Don't spend a bunch of time talking about the future. Just get to know him. What are your expectations? When should I come to you? What does that look like? Those are the conversations that you're going to want to have to get to know Dax and know that he has 9 kids, 9 boys, by the way. I say, more than 2 boys, you're going to heaven. That is like a direct. So, I want to thank you. This has been terrific. Candace has a question. Candace, real quick, what do you got?
Dax, it was excellent. Question. So obviously you are building your employee base through your children, clearly.
Actually, none of my kids work for me today.
Well, eventually they'll wish they had, or at least had your knowledge. But my big question is, I mean, I've had my own business for a very long time. It's very hard to find employees. So when you're moving from state to state, you're actually moving with your company, or are you subcontracting out people as you move from state to state? How does that work for you?
My teams move with me. Yeah. So they move state to state with me.
Great. That's excellent. Thank you.
All right. Well,
Mhm.
again, Dax, thank you so much. Real briefly, talk about your podcast so that, we want to get you followers.
Well, Julie, I know you just did that, but we just recently stopped the podcast. I
Okay.
am launching my new podcast.
Oh,
No,
new
it's all good.
podcast. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to be launching a new podcast. I can't give you all the details of it today,
Okay.
but I'm sure if I give it to you, the whole world will know about it because you're so
Yeah.
famous and everybody loves you. So, we're in the process of it now.
Okay.
It's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but yeah, so
Stand
that's
by.
kind of my world. Yeah, stand by.
All
You'll
right.
hear about it soon.
And Dax Ferguson, you have a Facebook page, a LinkedIn page
I do.
where people can. Okay. And as you
Yep.
guys I've said before, send a little note when you're trying to connect with people on LinkedIn and Facebook so it doesn't look like you're a stalker trying to get to sell him something. Don't do that. All right. That's not the relationship we want here. So anyway, Dax, you've been awesome. If you want to stay, because you don't want to go home and be a parent, you can stay for our real brief breakout session.